This used to be a free country, you communists. You're a communist.
I'm a communist.
I'm a communist,
yeah. What are you, a moron? Go
Must
away.
be, yeah.
Go away.
Yeah.
Go away. You take photos to put onto websites to incite people to hurt people.
No, that's what your people do.
Incite people to
That's what your
violence.
people do.
No, we don't.
I disagree with
you
violence.
You don't take photographs of me.
Off you go.
Why? Or what?
I don't care, mate.
Okay, don't worry. Hello, mate. Let the lady through. Come on, you thugs.
Off you go. I know what you want to do, be a martyr. Just go up the road.
I'm Martin, just doing a bit of filming.
Just go up the road, right? Just go up the road.
You'd like to give us an interview, Cole?
National Front, right?
Designated protester.
Yeah, fine, so it's National Front. Do whatever you want. He hangs around with people who deny right for us. Tony Martin, who's banned from Facebook, who asked you governor.
How do you feel about the Labour Party wanting to replace the white working class?
Oh, you are National Front, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
You're a fascist, but don't talk to me.
Well, no, I'm not actually, but I was just willing to ask you a question.
I don't talk to Nazis, mate. So
Okay,
sorry.
fair enough. Hello everyone, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a brilliant time and didn't overindulge too much and got all the presents that they were hoping for. Obviously 2025 is here now, and hopefully it's going to be a great year for the National Front and for nationalism. I'd like to introduce everyone to my new I've got a new sort of studio set up now. At the moment I'm using a green screen behind me. I'm not actually in this luxurious place with a piano or anything like that, so I want to mess around and try a few different backdrops to see how things go with doing that, but it seems to be working pretty well at the moment. My missus Shaz, she bought me a new desk for my studio. I've had the studio for ages, getting around to getting it set up and everything. So her buying me the desk sort of jump started me to get stuck in, and I bought a few other things, and I've been working over the Christmas holidays trying to sort things out, getting it ready. Still a long way off at the moment, but it's a lot better than anything I've had previously. So that this is mine and the National Front's new sort of studio setup. Like I said, it's at the moment I'm using a green screen. I'm going to mess around with some different filters to try and put a bit of colour in my face. I look a little bit off colour at the moment. Had a couple of comments there: Mayfair Carpenter, Happy New Year, Tony. Happy New Year to you as well, and everyone else. Matty England. Owen only talks to people with their flies unzipped. I think that was a reference to the intro video I just played that had Owen Jones in it. Yeah. Very here. Yeah, so this is the new studio. There's a bit of reverberation at the moment when I'm talking. I need to get some things to put on the wall to stop that, and that's underway, and that'll be getting sorted out soon. I've done some improvements to my sort of mobile setup when I'm out and about filming. So this setup's in Belfast, and I obviously spend a lot of time in London as well. So when I'm in London, I'll be live streaming from a mobile phone. I've just ordered some new mics for that, and I've got a fairly decent gimbal for it as well now. So I'll be up in the game with that. Hopefully from now onwards I'll be live streaming around every 2 weeks. It won't necessarily always be on a Friday. Quite often I'm getting flights on Fridays, so it'll probably be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like that. Something to work on and look forward to in the new year. Another bit of news, I may have mentioned this before, but on the National Front website, we've now set up a newsletter. I haven't actually sent any newsletters out yet. I'm just going to need to go a bit closer to the camera to do this, but is that the right one? Oh, right, it's coming through a bit tiny at the. I don't know how to adjust that, but you can probably see at the bottom of the screen, it's scrolling across. It's saying natfront.info/newsletter. So obviously natfront.info is the National Front website, and /newsletter will give you an online form to subscribe to the newsletter, which is separate from being a member. You don't have to be a member to subscribe to the newsletter. And you don't have to pay anything for that. So hopefully we'll be getting something out about once a month to people, like I said, regardless of whether they're members or not, but anyone who subscribes to the newsletter. Also, I've been working at the moment, and hopefully next weekend or the weekend after, we'll be launching online payment on the National Front website. We had it a few years ago where we were using PayPal, but we got messed around with by PayPal. They obviously don't support us or believe we should be having online payments on our websites. So we got the sack from them. So we're going to try and use someone else, and hopefully that'll be set up within the next couple of weeks. So if I'll just go back to the comments there. Owen will not talk to anyone that won't blindly follow his political agenda. Yeah, I think that's pretty true. Although I must to give him a bit of, but he's been fairly probably one of the best voices on the Israel-Palestine thing. I've been getting a lot of news from his YouTube thing on that. I don't agree with the rest of what he stands for, but when it comes to the Israel-Palestine thing, he seems to be one of the few people with their sort of fingers on the pulse about that. I hope everyone had a brilliant New Year and things. Has anyone got anything to say or any questions or anything? Oh, my Shaz is on there. Sorry for showing a bit of would it be nepotism, I suppose, but I'll stick her. That's come up quite small as well. I think what's happened is because I've been looking into the software I use for doing the live streams as well. So the previous live streams I've done have been coming out in 720p, and apparently I only needed to click on something to change it to 1080p. I can go up to 4K as well, but I have to spend more money to do that. So I don't think that's really worth it for a live stream. I think 1080p is good enough for that. So, but I think that might be why the things are coming up smaller, because we're in a different resolution. So I'll look into that, and hopefully the next time I do a live stream and anyone puts any comments and I put them up, they'll be coming up bigger. So that's something to work on. Also, I've been looking into, I use Premiere Pro video editing software, and they've got things on there now where you can edit using transcripts of what you said. So what I'm going to look to be doing is in the future is, once I've done a live stream, rather than just putting it to video afterwards, actually editing it and then putting a better version up where I and R a lot. Some of it I can't think what to say, and other times I think better of saying what I can think to say. But we're all people, aren't we? And everyone does things like that. So most people do edit what they say. So hopefully with the transcript editing, I can get a better video out. So if I talk here now for 45 minutes, I can probably put a 30-minute video up that's comes across a bit better than this. Like I said, I still need to work on the lighting a bit. I've just bought some new lights for my studio, and I think my face looks a bit pasty. It's obviously winter and I'm in Northern Ireland, so I haven't had that much sun, so I probably do look a bit pasty. But I'm not quite as pasty as this. Someone else has commented on there again. Yeah, I've put this comment up anyway, and I'll disagree with it a bit. I think she's only putting it out because she's biased, but I've been told I do a fantastic job. Happy New Year, Tony. Happy New Year to you as well, John. Yeah, so also this video, hopefully this is going out on Twitter as well, or X as it's now called. The last live stream I did, I only did it to I only did it to YouTube. So this is hopefully all the comments I've seen so far have come from Facebook. So I don't know if no one's commenting on X or if they're just not coming up. I think the last time I did them on X, they weren't coming up. So that may be an issue. So if there's anyone watching this on X who wants to comment, you're probably better off going over to YouTube. So that's another thing to work on. Obviously, I'm now live streaming to X as well, and then hopefully next time I'll be doing it to Facebook as well as X. Also, I'd like to bring some guests on. So I don't know if anyone's got any suggestions for guests, whether you're watching this live now or whether you're watching this at a later date. Just put in the comments section anyone who you think could make a good guest. It doesn't have to be. In fact, it'd probably be better if it's someone that I wouldn't really agree with. It'd make for better entertainment. I'd love to invite Owen Jones on, but I can't imagine that he'd come on. So if anyone could think of anyone to invite on, I'm open to suggestions. I won't necessarily invite them on, but there's a good chance I will. Again, like I said, I'd like to be doing a live stream every couple of weeks. I don't really know. Well, I probably won't even stick to the same format, Matt. Sometimes I might have a guest. Other times there might be a big announcement, or sometimes I might even come on just for a chat, really. Like today's really just for a chat. I've announced that the studio's sort of coming along a bit. What does everyone think of the studio, by the way? How bad are the reverbs? Because I'm open to constructive criticism. So if it's a bit annoying, the reverbs or anything like that, because at the moment the studio's is pretty empty. I've got a rug down on the ground. I've got a green screen behind me, but I could do with putting some things on the wall to try and stop the reverbs. I've got curtains up already, so and also I won't necessarily be using a green screen all the time. Hopefully, I'm going to get a lamp to put in the corner and maybe a plastic plant or even a real plant. But then to try and have something in the background so that it doesn't look too plain. I know the previous live streams I've done, I've just got a wardrobe and some curtains in the background. So I'm hoping that this is better than that. RAC said I have now, I've subscribed to an NF newsletter. When do you think they'll begin to come out? That's down to me, really. They should have come out already. I wanted to put a New Year email out. I suppose it's not too late to do that. I've been busy. I've been spending a lot of time sorting the studio out. So hopefully the next few days I'll maybe get something out on Sunday. I need to. Because when I put it out, I'm going to ask people to share it with other people who they think might find it interesting. So then I'm going to have to put a sort of standard bit at the bottom, asking people if they'd like to subscribe to it. And then also to say if people want to unsubscribe to email, unsubscribe to whatever thing it is. Because I think with the form as well, people could put, I'm not saying anyone should, but people could put other people's email addresses in there. So I'll have to put a thing at the bottom asking people if they want to unsubscribe, or else we could get accused of like harassing people or something like that. So I need to work out the exact format and then get something put together and put out. Our people at the National Front do a good job of putting out a newsletter to members that goes out via the post. So we do something similar to that, but it'd be more frequent and it'd be slightly different because we understand that it'd be going to people that aren't members. So it'd be slightly different to that. Right, mum's the word. What is our take on Palestine? I tell people we support their right to self-determination. Well, the National Front hasn't actually got a take on that. Our view as a party is that it's our concerns are what concerns the British people, and what happens in other countries is their business, unless it affects us. How I understand that myself on a personal level is that like what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, specifically deliberately displacing them, there's over 2 million people on the Gaza Strip. Israel's made their intentions clear. They want to clear the Gaza Strip. So, judging by what's happened in the past, I would have thought that if they successfully clear the Gaza Strip, then probably around half the people will stay in the region, about 1 million people, and that'll leave another 1 million people heading to the west, heading to America, to Britain, to Germany, to France, to Australia, and it's not good for anyone other than people. In fact, it's not even good for a lot of Israelis, but the people that are vested in it are the only people that get any good out of it. Imagine that, because this is what it comes down to, I think, with a lot of these people, not finances. Imagine what the Gaza Strip, without the Palestinians living there, if it was similar to somewhere in Spain or America or even Mexico, all that coastland, it'd be an absolute, it'd be worth hundreds of billions probably for that real estate, and that's most probably what they're after. And like I said, it'll also undermine Western countries, because all the Palestinians are going to be leaving there and coming to Western countries. So it's morally wrong to be doing it to them in the first place, and also it's definitely not in our interests. And you've got a lot of people. I'm not going to slag off all the Tommy Robinson supporters, because I'm sure a lot of them are decent people that in my opinion, have been taken in. But there's a lot of people that think, oh, I hate the Muslims, I'll side with the Israelis. But it doesn't work like that. Just by the Israelis will gladly tuck us up, send us a load of Palestinians and anyone else, and then at the same time they're sending them here, they're deliberately riling them up against us. It's not as if when they arrive they're going to see us as saviours. They're going to see us as a country. Obviously, not most of the people in this country, but the government has supported their genocide. So it's going to be similar to with the Afghan and the Iraq wars, where we were both taking in Muslim refugees at the same time that our government was committing atrocities against them. So it's a recipe for disaster. I can't imagine anyone thinks anything good is going to come of that. Shaz has put something else up there as well. I personally don't think we need to get involved. These people don't even like us anyway. I'm actually sitting quite far away from my computer. That's why I'm sort of leaning forward and squinting a bit. There's no way I'm sticking up for anyone that literally wants to hurt me and my family. That's 100% right, Shaz. You can tell why I love this woman so much. So I think that's about enough for Israel Palestine. Has anyone got any questions or anything to say about anything else? Has anyone found the reverberations of me talking sound over the top, or is the picture quality bad, or has anyone got any problems with the live stream? Like I said before, it's still far from perfect, but it's definitely a massive step in the right direction, and it's going to be hopefully improving every time I use the studio. No, everything seems fine. That's good. Thanks, Shaz. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure why. I might have a quick look at these banners to see. It's not the back. It might come in a style. Oh, that'd be it. Sorry about this. Oh, that's a bit better. There we go. That's what I was trying to do in the first place, but the bit scrolling across the bottom still looks a bit small. But I've gone to the classic. I was on minimal. I've gone to classic now, I think, because the minimal looked pretty good when I was at streaming at 720p, but now I'm at full HD. It seemed a bit small, so that definitely looks a bit better. I'll go back to the comments to see if anyone's said anything. Looks like there's a new one. How do you personally feel about the Austrian artist? Assuming that we're talking about the same person, I've got mixed feelings. I'm not going to. I don't hero worship him and that like some people do, but I don't think he was as bad as a lot of people make out. I think it's more important to look towards the future than the past. So yeah, I don't believe that the Holocaust happened to the extent that people claim it did, or that it that was the intention from the start. So so obviously I don't believe in that. It's on the whole, it's generally sort of a topic to be sort of avoided, really, rather than that's my take on it anyway. So yeah, that's about it really for the Austrian artist. Yeah. Anyone else got anything? Well, if no one else got anything to say, I think I'll probably say about Elon Musk's comments about Tommy Robinson being in jail. My view is that probably the sentence was a bit overboard, but he pleaded guilty to committing a crime of contempt of court. So you've got to expect some sort of punishment if you plead guilty to something. I'm not aware of what legal advice he had. I watched a video by someone, I forget his name now. I'll put a link in the video in the description or whatever to the video, talking about people getting advised to plead guilty when they're not guilty, just because they get less time in prison just for pleading guilty. And there's such a backlog with court cases that they're encouraged to plead guilty even though they're not guilty. So there is a chance of that. But as far as Elon Musk commenting on it, it seems quite strange as well, because Elon Musk, well, it's not so much Elon Musk, but X or Twitter, a year and a bit ago, they obviously unbanned Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins and a few other people. And it seemed to me at the time that all the people that they unbanned were all pro-Israel at a time when Israel was attacking Palestine. So I think Elon Musk has got a bit of a vested interest in supporting Israel. I don't know what contacts he has there or what influence they have over him, but it seemed to me that X, which is owned by Elon Musk, specifically unbanned in October 2023 lots of people that were pro-Israel at a time when Israel was obviously going to be spoken about quite a lot, both in the mainstream media and on social media. At the top, because I actually got banned at the same time as Tommy Robinson. Hope Not Hate produced a list of people and organisations, including myself, the National Front, Tommy Robinson, and various other people to ban. And Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube all followed because they was threatened by the Home Affairs Select Committee. So they banned us all. And so I was hoping, kind of hoping anyway, I didn't have that much faith in it, that there'd be a chance that I could get my old X account back. I've probably got like 5 or 6 times more followers than I've got on my current X account. And it would have been nice to have got that back. And so I appealed my ban on that, and they didn't even get back to me. So perhaps if I was more pro-Israel, I could be back on there now, but and I might even get 50 pieces of silver or whatever it is. But it's that's something I'd rather stick to my conscience than do something like that. Now there's something there about one of Elon Musk's parents. Yeah, I'm not actually sure what his backstory is. The name Elon seems a bit strange to me. I've only ever heard of one other person called Elon, and they was I think an Israeli Jew. So I don't. There's a good chance that is correct, but I don't actually know that. So, Just going to have to scroll back some comments there. In January 2024, Musk said he is Jewish by association after visiting Auschwitz. I didn't actually see that comment at the time, but it seems it does seem like a strange thing to say, that you feel that way but after visiting somewhere. I haven't visited Auschwitz myself. I wouldn't mind visiting it. It'd definitely be interesting. I've heard lots of things from both sides of the argument about it, so it'd definitely be an interesting place to visit. So I might go there. Well, we're paying for it anyway, aren't we? I think our government contributed to refurbishment work. I don't know if they've built any new chimneys or ovens or anything, or if it was just a bit of a makeover and a bit of painting. But yeah, we've obviously paid towards it, so it'd definitely be somewhere interesting to visit. Hopefully I don't come back feeling Jewish after visiting it. If I do, I won't be going anytime in the near future anyway. This one. All social media do that. Once you start a new account, you have to rebuild from scratch. Yeah, that's the problem. Also, you're disheartened. When I was on Twitter before, on my old account, I had over 4,000 followers. I was putting stuff up several times a day. I had some sort of software checking if people had unsubscribed or various things like that, and I was putting a lot of effort into it. The same with the last National Front website. We was updating it several times a day. This is all myself and two other people, all unpaid, all working and doing it in our spare time, and we put so much work into it, hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours, and then the website got taken down, and we kind of lost everything. They sent us our information back. But I had to rebuild a new website, which I have done, but we haven't been updating it anywhere near as much as we did the last one, partially due to feeling disheartened about losing the last one, which is one of the reasons why I've set up the newsletter, because with the newsletter, we've got our own separate record of all the people that subscribe to it. So if we were to lose the website again, then at least we've got an email subscription list. So once we set up a new website, we've got people to email to, and we're sort of in some ways in control of our own destiny more than a internet provider or the Home Affairs Select Committee, or Hope Not Hate. So that's another reason for people to subscribe to the newsletter. And then if we lose the site again, expect to receive an email from a separate email address with the new information for the new site. So it gives me anyway more confidence to carry on doing something, knowing that it's kind of backed up a little bit. So we've got that. Shazza said she visited Belsen when she lived in Germany, but she's not Jewish. Yeah, Shaz grew up. Her father was in the Royal Engineers, so she grew up around Germany and various other places, and she's got lots of experiences from around there and that. Yeah. These other ones. I'll give that one. Give that one a miss, although I find it mildly funny. I assume this one's about the website. John Gary. They do it to knock your morale, etc. And to be honest, I imagine it works to some extent. It does, yeah. You try and sort of toughen up and be sort of brave to these kind of things, but it's like anything. If you've worked on a car or built a house or that put a lot of work into anything, and then all of a sudden it's sort of taken away from you. It does knock your morale a bit. Again, like the amount of time I put into the old website, if I'd been doing overtime at work, I'd have probably had tens of thousands of pounds out of it, or at least 10 grand out of it anyway. And then they can just sort of take it away from you like that, which is another reason why it was so good. I know I spoke about this in the last couple of live streams, but it was so good to actually put the shoe on the other foot and give it to Hope Not Hate for the past couple of months, and the next sort of 6 months as well. But absolutely brilliant when they got so many meetings cancelled. And the brilliant thing was, I actually watched a video of Joe Mulhall talking about the far right becoming normalised, and how a few years ago it would have been or 10 years ago it would have been a shock for a far right fascist to be the president of the United States, or the president of Brazil, or president of India, and all these kind of things. But now that things like have just sort of become normalised, and if a far right extremist just misses out, people are relieved, where a few years ago they would have been shocked that they even got that far. And the way he was talking like that in this video, I think it came out a couple of years ago, but then but showing how things had kind of become normalised. Just before Christmas, they had a book meeting for their IRA Rebel Sounds book, and they met in a communist bookshop in London. And previously, Hope Not Hate and Stand Up to Racism have tried to sort of distance themselves from each other. Hope Not Hate have tried to be more mainstream and respectable, and influence the media and do press releases and go on TV programs. Where Stand Up to Racism, basically the same thing as the UAF, prefer to go and physically attack people, are open about wanting to physically attack people, and come across as far less professional. And it suited both of them to try and not be associated with the other one. But they kind of came together to have this meeting at the communist bookshop. They had a flyer for the event in the window of the bookshop, right next to a bust of Karl Marx. And and then on the actual night of the meeting, I went and had a walk around and had a look around beforehand, and we could have quite easily got a few people down there to disrupt it, but it was right before Christmas, and I was flying out to Belfast the next day. And I had a couple of friends who was in a pub nearby, so I landed up. I went and had a look at it, and they literally had 3 people outside guarding it, and about 12 people inside at the meeting. And the next day, Joe Mulhall was on social media, and he was talking about it like it was a great success. He shared a photo that looked about 12 people listening to him. So he was there giving his boring talk about. Well, I say it's boring. There's an interesting bit about how some of these rebels that he loves used to steal people's X-rays from a hospital and then cut them and use them, because the X-rays are quite hard to use them, to cut vinyl records into them. So you can actually see like a broken wrist or ankle or something, and then it actually goes in a record player and plays music. So that little bit was quite interesting. The rest of the songs were absolutely rubbish. It was all things like that. I can't even remember. Well, I can kind of remember what the songs are, but it's like just really annoying songs that make you want to turn the radio off. But he saw it as a great success that they'd managed to have this meeting with him doing his talk. Trying to remember her name now, Georgie Lamin, who's one of the newer key people at Hope Not Hate. She was up there sort of taking photos and making sure things were set up. There was key members of Stand Up to Racism in the meeting. There was probably no members of the general public there. There might have been 1 or 2. It's probably whoever runs the bookshop. And then they had 3 people standing guard outside. And they've got so normalised in the course of a couple of months of us having a go at their meetings. Say having a go at them, we haven't physically attacked them or threatened them. All we've done is politely remonstrated, politely informed establishments of who they're dealing with, and and things like that. So, but they actually consider that to be a great success, and probably in some ways it is, because they probably won't have a success like that for a while. We've got information about other events coming up, so other venues will be contacted. We'll probably have a couple of protests outside, and this year it will hopefully be a terrible year for Hope Not Hate, and I look forward to being part of that. What else was I got? I've just thought of something else to say about what they were, what they're up to. Oh yeah, the Stand Up to Racism and the Communist Bookshop are sort of kind of pro-Palestine, where Hope Not Hate are actually the ones who've been vilifying people for speaking out against Israel. They support the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, which basically says that it's anti-Semitic to accuse a Jew of being more loyal to Israel than he is to his supposed home country. But that wouldn't apply to anyone else. Like I'm British, I live in Britain or the UK, and I often get accused of being more loyal to Nazi Germany or ridiculous things like that. And people are free to say that, as they should be. As ridiculous as it is, they should still be free to say it, without being accused of any sort of phobia or anything like that. But anyone who criticises a Jew and claims or insinuates that they're more loyal to Israel than their own country, despite however much evidence there is to prove that, is automatically anti-Semitic due to this definition that's pushed by the likes of Hope Not Hate. And supposedly Stand Up to Racism and the Communist Bookshop and people like that are supposed to be against things like that, but they're quite happy to partner up with Hope Not Hate. Similar to probably just over a year ago, I went along to a Stand Up to Racism event, and I had a bit of verbal with a few people. They was sort of not hard, but sort of hitting me with the placards a little bit and screaming in my ear with a megaphone. I filmed it on my GoPro, but I think it must have noise cancelling technology in there, so it didn't seem anywhere near as loud as it actually was at the time. So it didn't really show up on the video how loud they were screaming in my ears. But they tried to get me arrested for Holocaust denial. But again, these are people that are supposed to be pro-Palestine. I'm not saying they're supposed to be anti-Jewish or anything like that, but people that are supposed to be pro-Palestine wanting people arrested for Holocaust denial seems to me to be absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, that's about that. But anyway, so Hope Not Hate are now on the run. They know they're on the run. They're basically acknowledging that by celebrating such a minor victory as being able to get a tiny meeting together in a communist location, with mainly communists, Stand Up to Racism, Socialist Workers' Party. Lewis Nielsen, one of the key people from Stand Up to Racism and the Socialist Workers' Party, was seen in the meeting. I'm not sure who the people standing around outside were, but they're all, assumably, all part of the same thing. But yeah, that's it. For years, nationalists have had to have RV points and vet people and all that just to try and get a normal meeting together. And now Hope Not Hate have got to do that, and they'll have to do that for as long as they continue to be in existence. Yeah, it'd be good if they do lose a lot of support, and that because I don't really have that much contact with the Palestinians. I know a few people who do, so it might be worth trying to send them a message about something as well. Because like a few other people have pointed out before, and a lot of other people have as well, that Stand Up to Racism, when they're doing the Palestinian things, they leave all their queer stuff at home, don't they? But then when they're turning up at something like when refugees drowned, or their national day of anti-racism or their conference, they push the homosexual agenda. Everything's like queer rights, trans rights, whatever pronouns you want, and this, that, and the other, but they leave all that at home when they go on the Palestinian things. So either they're lying to the Palestinians, or they're lying to the queers, or they're just lying to everyone, which is probably the most realistic thing. But they're definitely not to be trusted. Like with the National Front. Some people might say it's a mistake or whatever, but we've always been honest. Everything we've said has been the truth. We haven't done things like what Keir Starmer is promising people this, that, and the other. David Cameron promising people this, that, and the other, and then knowing that they either can't or won't deliver on it. You know, it's not a matter of we found out at the last minute we couldn't do it. David Cameron promised to bring the immigration down to a few tens of thousands while staying a member of the EU, which is absolutely impossible. I know people have pointed out that countries like Poland and places like that have managed to do it while staying part of the EU, but that's because they're low-income economies. I suppose we could do that. We could be part of the EU and completely crash our economies, and no one wants to come here, and or not no one wants to come here, but so that less people are likely to want to come here, and that would work. But obviously, we don't really want to do that. So countries in Eastern Europe have got completely different circumstances than countries in Western Europe. And as long as, well, obviously we're supposed to have left the EU now, we're still under a lot of their control, and there's still a lot of them coming in. But if France or Germany wanted to completely cut all their immigration, they couldn't do it while staying. They could cut it a bit from people from outside of Europe, but they couldn't cut it totally. And a lot of the people from outside of Europe, a lot of these foreign doctors have got Italian or French passports. So when I say foreign, I don't mean European foreign. I mean sub-Saharan Africans and Arabs and people like that. A lot of them can get European passports. Same as South America. I wouldn't be surprised if like a third of South America can get European passports, because so many Italians and Spanish and whatever went to South America after the Second World War, that so many have got grandparents that are from Europe. So there's so many people that can go to the EU. So Cameron was obviously lying when he said that he could get it down to a few tens of thousands, unless he didn't know he was in the EU, which I find that hard to believe. And the same with Starmer, saying that there was a massive black hole in the economy, when they've got their spads, they know as much as the government, same as the Tories should know as much as them at the moment. So if they get in and say they didn't know about something, then they're lying as well. What's everyone else got to say on things? Yep, there's definitely some lies about. They can't even lie about. They can't even tell the truth about their own qualifications, like claiming to be an economist just because they worked for a company that does that in a different department. And then you've got someone who pretended that their mobile phone had been stolen and things like that. These are people in government. It's an absolute joke. And how much did Keir Starmer know about this? You know, did they lie to him or? And so, as I was saying before, that's one of the things that sort of that's kind of stopped the NF, is where we've always told the truth about things. We've warned people about immigration, about other people controlling things, and we've been called liars. But we've always, as far as I'm aware, it's always turned out to be true. Maybe not all predictions, because you can't predict things accurately. But when we've told people about what's going on, when nationalists have warned about the grooming gangs and it's just been ignored. And we've warned about other things, and again that's been ignored. The National Front's always told the truth and always been condemned for it. I watched a good video. I'll put a link to that as well in the description, where Martin Webster, who was formerly the national organiser of the National Front back in the 70s, was talking, and he was talking about what they call the Battle of Lewisham, which is celebrated by the lefts, where they attacked the police and the National Front, who were taking part in an anti-mugging protest. Lots of old ladies back in the days when they used to go to the post office and collect their pension. Lots of old ladies were being systematically targeted by gangs of black youths, and the National Front back in '77 protested against that, and a lot of the far left turned up in support of the black muggers. It wasn't like an anti-black protest in particular, it was specifically against black muggers, and the far left turned out in support of the black muggers, and many of them are still proud of it today. I think about 10 years ago, Paul Sillett, he used to be involved with Stand Up to Racism and UAF, started going on to me about Lewisham, which I was only a few months old when Lewisham happened, so it was obviously before my time. But going on like that, like 10 years ago, that he was still kind of proud of it. And if you look at, I don't know the statistics for muggings in Lewisham now, but like most of South London, I'm from Croydon myself, it's predominantly young black lads mugging. Nowadays it's young white kids, as opposed to older. I'm sure older people do still get mugged, but it's more aimed at the youth now with things like mobile phones and trainers, and the fact that pensions are no longer paid in cash. It's more aimed at the youth, but it's still the majority blacks mugging whites. And I'm sure if there was one white gang anywhere in the country that was specifically targeting people of an ethnic minority, whether they were blacks, Asians or Jews, if there was one white gang specifically targeting another ethnic group, they'd be shut down almost immediately. There'd be a task force put on it, all the stops would be pulled out, there'd be unlimited overtime, and they'd get cracked down on. And then when they're caught, they'd come down on them like a ton of bricks, because it'd be considered racially motivated. They'd get they'd be a lot more likely to get caught. They're going to get twice the sentence. And it's slight exaggerations say that they throw away the key, but it's probably not that much of an exaggeration. But they get come down on like a ton of bricks. If that was whites doing it to any other ethnic group. I think that's me getting a bit carried away there. Better get this one up. This is an important one. Is there any form of payment involved in becoming a member of the National Front? There is. Obviously, we need funds to keep running as a party, to stand candidates, and to post out newsletters and things like that. I believe it's probably the cheapest political party in the country to join. Put something in the comments if there is another cheaper one, but it's £10 a year. We probably should put that up, really. There's no plans to do it in the immediate future, but it'll have to go up at some stage. At the moment, it's over £1 a letter, so we're more or less spending the whole membership on sending out newsletters, the equivalent of. So yeah, but at the moment it still is £10 a year. If you go onto the National Front website, it'll have the details on there for joining. At the moment, it's only by post. I was saying earlier in the video that I'm working on at the moment, not PayPal, but something similar to do online payments. Hopefully, within a couple of weeks, we'll have online payments for joining or rejoining. But like I said, at the moment, it's £10 a year. But I would have thought, probably starting from next year or the year after, have to put that up just to meet the running costs. Because I'm pretty sure that Hope Not Hate, well, at least a few years ago, had a membership probably in a different name, because they was aware of what was happening in our news bulletin every time a few times as soon as it came out. So they were probably paying £10 to be for the membership, and by the time we've printed their newsletters and sent them out to them, then we probably haven't got any money off them. So So we will need to work on that, I would have thought. So unless they suddenly bring down the cost of postage, or we suddenly get a wealthy backer. Again, Elon Musk was talking about giving, was it 100 million, was it dollars or pounds? I think it's $100 million to the Reform Party, which I think Elon Musk knows how to generate publicity. So I don't know whether he actually has or had any intention of giving them that money, but he's probably generated for himself several £1 million worth of free publicity just by saying that. Again, the National Front's always told the truth about things. So, but if we was to try and steal some publicity and make out that someone was offering to give us millions of pounds, I don't know whether anyone would run the story. As far as I'm aware, there's no one considering giving us millions of pounds at the moment, because we mainly look out for the working class, for the indigenous people. And like I've said a few times before with immigration, people talk about immigrants being good for the economy, and to some degree that is true, because when you look at the economy of working people, immigration isn't good for that. It pushes down wages and pushes up housing costs. But then when you look at that from the point of view of an employer or a landlord, then it is good for the economy, because it pushes down wages and pushes up housing prices. So when they say about immigration being good for the economy, they're not necessarily lying, but they're not talking about our economy. They're talking about their economy. Yeah, so that's it for the payments. Yeah, literally 20p a week, probably probably just under, when you include the extra 2 weeks, probably just under 20p a week. So yeah. Well, also when people do join, they can make a donation as well. So although the membership is only £10, you can pay £20, £30, £40, £100 million, or whatever you can afford. So hopefully we will get some more members in the new year, and hopefully start standing some more candidates. It was a shame not to be outstanding in the general election, but again, when a party's being run solely by volunteers, and in elections called at a snap, like the past few have, it's pretty difficult to get things organised. When you've got a bit more notice, or when your predictions are more accurate, then you can do it a bit more easier. But the main parties that have got MPs, county councillors, and even town councillors, they've got so much resources paid for by the taxpayer. Like I said before, Croydon Council, and probably most councils in the country, I don't know if it's most, but definitely Croydon Council and probably a lot of others, when the general election was called, they cancelled a council meeting. So basically, you've got people that are paid by the taxpayer, by the Croydon Council taxpayers, to organise and attend and minute meetings. They basically cancel it, so that assumably there may be a different reason for it. I find it hard to believe, but I'm assuming that they cancelled the meeting so that they could spend more time working on the general election. So you've got for every MP, I don't know, they must have about 8 members of staff, I'm guessing this, between their constituency office and their parliamentary office. They've got the MP. So all of those people have got the time off work. So they're there ready to start campaigning straight away. The deal might have been done between Labour and Conservative sometime in advance as to when the general election was. I don't know, I wasn't privy to that, so I'm not making a definite accusation, but you would have thought that there'd be some amount of time, whether it is hours, days, weeks or months, where they knew when the general election was going to be called. And so they've got that information, they got that to help them. And again, like I was saying with councils and things, if you think how many councillors there are in the country, and most of them don't get a full-time wage, they just get, like, I don't know, the equivalent of like a week's like 1 day's pay a week or something like that. And but then the ones who have got cabinet positions within the council, they get a full-time wage. So you've got all of that time freed up. So when you get these activists going around for the mainstream parties that banging on doors, in fact, that'd be a good question to ask them. Ask if anyone, before steaming into them about how disgraceful their party is and this, that, and the other, which I'm sure you'll get round to, start off by asking them if they're a councillor or an MP or who they are, like what their background is, because they could quite well be getting paid to come around knocking on your door during the general election campaign or any other election campaign. Because like I said, I think at Croydon Council they were getting, a few years ago, they were getting about 10 grand a year just to be a councillor, and that's without any other cabinet positions or any boards or anything like that. That's just to be a councillor. And so for that, they were expected to attend about 10 council meetings that were of an evening and lasted a couple of hours, and also 2 or 3 public surgeries. And then obviously they'd have emails and that to do in the meantime. But 10 grand a year isn't a lot of money as a full-time wage, but for that limited amount of work, 10 grand is a hell of a lot of money when you're thinking they're probably only spending 4 or 5 hours a week doing council stuff for 10 grand a year. So it's probably the equivalent of about 100 grand pro rata. And then the ones that have got more to do obviously get more money on top of that. And like I said, when there's an election campaign, they basically cancel everything they've got to do. There's no one really supervising them to make sure they do it. Obviously, most councils have got people from more than one political party that are on the council. So if someone was up to something specifically dodgy just for that one particular party, then they would get pulled on it. But it suits both lots. If it's half Conservative, half Labour, and they say, well, why don't we blow out a council meeting and go out campaigning, then it doesn't particularly help either of them against each other, but it squeezes out smaller parties when people have got to take time off work, especially at short notice. It's not like most people have to give a reasonable amount of notice to take time off work. I'm self-employed, so technically I could just take a load of time off, but I make commitments to do jobs and people expect those jobs to be done. So if I all of a sudden just don't bother doing a load of them because an election's been called, it looks bad on me. And everyone must be in a similar sort of situation where either they're self-employed and they've got their own jobs that they have to get done, or they work for a company that expects them to give a reasonable amount of notice to take time off. And also with a lot of employers, if you used to say you're taking time off to campaign for a nationalist organisation, whether that's the National Front or someone else, or as an independent nationalist or anything like that, it doesn't look good for you work-wise. So again, it's so difficult to stand in general election, but we are aiming to do it. So hopefully the next general election we'll be better prepared, and hopefully predict when it is a bit better. So again, so difficult to predict, but people need to realise how corrupt the system. I say corrupt the system is how sort of stacked it is. It's not necessarily corrupt because they're fairly open about what they're doing, but it is it's definitely an uphill struggle for any genuine nationalist, that is, anyway. Going back to what you said earlier, I believe Mark Collett could be a good guest. Yeah, I think Mark Collett would be a good guest. I might invite him on, or invite someone else on. I've spoken on a couple of other live streams with Mark. He's a good guy. I've known him. Well, I say I've known him since the BNP days. I've met him back then. I didn't really know him, but I've met him a few times since, and he seems like a decent guy. And yeah, he's definitely someone I'll be interested in in having on here. I think the very first person I spoke to on it was James Goddard. That was the first time I started. I think it's the first live stream I actually hosted myself was with James Goddard. But yeah, I think Mark Collett would definitely be an interesting person to have on. Can anyone think of anyone else? Because I'm probably going to call an end to the meeting. To the live stream in a minute. We've got 56 people on at the moment. I think we went up to 60 at one stage. So it'd be. So I think that's a few more than we had last time. How is it rigged? I assume we're back to talking about the sort of election things. Basically, like I was saying, the mainstream parties have got so much taxpayer resources, like mainly paid staff, but also they've got the use of offices and things like that. Whereas it's not just affecting nationalists, but any smaller party. To some degree, it probably even affects the Communist Party as well, although I think they've got some financial backers and they've got use of facilities and things like that we don't have. But again, anyone that hasn't got a significant amount of councillors or elected MPs or anything like that, to try and all, like the BNP did a good job of it back in the early 2000s and that. Like I used to go out regularly leafleting for the BNP, and we had quite strong teams in a lot of places. I was in Croydon at the time, and right across London and the rest of the country, there was like good teams of people going out and things like that. But we was all doing it in our own time. When an election was called, we wasn't all suddenly given 6 weeks off work or a day a week off work or anything like that. We was expected to carry on doing our jobs. I think the 2010 general election, I was standing. Is the first time I'd stood as a candidate, and I stood as both a council and a parliamentary candidate at the same time, because in London we had the general election and the council elections at the same time. So I stood as a council candidate and a parliamentary candidate, and I actually took a month off work because we knew in advance when it was going to be, or roughly when it's going to be. So I managed to take a month off work, and I was out campaigning nearly every day to do that. So, but again, that was at my own cost, and other people done similar. In fact, other people done a lot more than me, but it was at our own cost. The BNP at the time had some paid employees, and some people were MEPs and various other paid or semi-paid positions like councillors. So there was that, but it was obviously a lot less than the mainstream parties. But they must spend a general election millions, if not tens of millions of pounds, between the main 3 or 4 parties of taxpayers' money on campaigning. Not so much the money directly on campaigning, but resources, offices, and staff, manpower. So that's how I consider it to be rigged. In fact, I think it was probably it was probably the best thing the coalition government did when they brought in the fixed term parliament, and we had from 2010 to 2015. We knew when the general election would be, similar to how they have it in America. But then when it should have gone to 2020 for the next one, and then they called 2 of them in the meantime. Again, it takes people off guard. It's so difficult to do it when you haven't got full-time staff and all the resources that they've got with that. Another comment on there. Joe Marsh, yeah, Joe Marsh would be another good person to have on here. I should be making notes really. I can go through this later, but I'll write down those 2 names. If anyone can think of anyone else, I'll probably only be on here for about another 5 minutes. So if anyone, there again saying that, if anyone thinks of anything afterwards, they can always put it in the comments of the video. What I'll do with this video most probably is I'll try and edit it down so that it's a shorter video and there's less umming and ahhing, because I'm pretty prone to umming and ahhing. So I'll try and cut some of that out, and then on the actual video thing, there'll be it'll go up on YouTube for that. I'm not sure if anyone's been watching on Twitter or X, as it's now called. But thanks very much if you have. Like I said, I've only been seeing comments from YouTube on here. So if anyone has been commenting on there, I haven't been ignoring you. I just haven't seen them. So I think that's about it for now. So thanks very much. I've still got the bit scrolling across the bottom, nationalfront.info/newsletter. So if anyone would like to subscribe to that, thank you to the people who've said that they have in the comments. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some more people subscribing. So at least then, if anything happens to our social media or our website, at least we've then got a backup to contact people. And again, like I said, we'll try and start getting hopefully a monthly newsletter out. But thank you very much, everyone, for coming. It's greatly appreciated. I hope everyone had a brilliant Christmas and a New Year. And I've had a great time. I've been out in Belfast. I've been working on my studio, as I said earlier. I've also spent time with Shaz and with family, and everything's going well this end, and I hope it is with everyone else. So thank you very much for everyone. I'm going to end the meeting now.